Welcome back once again, stop motion enthusiasts. This week's sponsor is Marks Bass, creator of Bendy's armature kits. Bendy's are elaborate wire-based armatures that are fun to animate and more affordable than expensive ball and socket kits. In fact, they're perfect for anyone who wants to practice stop motion without the high costs. Our advanced kits even have replacement limbs in case your wire should become weak or break. Check out the affordable Bendy's flying rigs and make your puppets do stunts, jump around, fly or zoom around the screen. Find out more at www.stopmotionstore.com. All sales go towards keeping our weekly live shows, as well as animateclay.com, free for everyone. Now back to our host, Marks Bass.
All right, so welcome everybody to the show. I'm gonna get rid of this. Let's see, gotta get rid of our welcome screen. And where is it? There it is. Okay, so anyway, this week I've got a couple of things to talk about before we get into sculpting. And the first is this, which is kind of interesting. It's a new kind of 3D camera that is possibly, you can use it for stop motion. And it just came out, I guess maybe this month or last month. And it's called Lucid Cam. So I checked into it, and some of the cool things about it are that it has the ability to power it externally. It has the option to put a battery pack on it. It has the option to connect 3 cameras for a 360 view. Now, I'm not really sure why it is that you need 3 cameras for a 360 view, because the one camera, I believe, is 180 degrees. But what's really cool about it is that, it's kind of basically the size of a cell phone, and you can hold it in your hands, and it has a tripod mount, so you can use it with a tripod. I do believe these kind of cameras in the future will replace cameras used for, or not replace, but usually what they do is you get like a DSLR and you put it on a slider, and it has a little stepper motor on there, and it goes back and forth the distance, the ocular distance, and the ocular distance between the 2 pupils on an eye for stop motion is usually the distance of about the width between your puppet's eyes. So this may not actually work in the same way that they use 3D photography in Leica or Aardman, but it's really cool, and I think that it gives gives people the option to film this way and use virtual reality goggles or your cell phone, such as I think it's called Google Cardboard. So it's really neat, and it's got stereo audio. It has let's see here, 32 gigabytes of internal memory. It has Wi-Fi support for live streaming, which maybe that can be used for like a bridge between Dragon Frame, perhaps. Like maybe Dragon Frame will make the camera available in their drop-down list of available options. And what else can I say about this? It's got an HDMI port out It has a micro USB supported. So, I mean, is it possible that you can just hook it up to your computer and use the USB to work with Dragonframe or Stop Motion Pro? I'm not really sure if that's going to be an option in the future. One of the things I noticed with the design, which I don't like, is that, let's see if they show a picture here somewhere. I know there's a picture, maybe in the shop. I'm not really sure. And by the way, I believe this is like $400. Oh, $500. Okay. So the price seems to be shifting. The last time I checked, I think it was $400, and then it was advertised as $350 when they first came out with it. So a little bit expensive, but you can see here. Can I zoom in on this? I guess I can't. But the USB out and the tripod mount are right next to each other, which is kind of crappy. So if you hook it up to your tripod and you want to hook it up to your computer, it's not really going to be easy. You might have to have some sort of an extension here in order to bypass, because if you're like my tripod would probably cover most of the bottom of this camera. The other thing that is interesting is that there's no sort of screen on it, and I wondered about how do you see what you're doing? So the way it works is through I think there's like a Bluetooth connection that goes to your cell phone, and you can stick your cell phone on the back of it and use that as a screen. That's really not the greatest thing in the world to have to do, especially if you have like a really small cell phone. But it just looks like, promising, that this could be used for stop motion. And, for $500, that's cheaper than getting, for example, a motion control system for your DSLR and a DSLR and lenses and all that. So it's still kind of cool. Also, Google is coming out with a camera as well. And some people are using these, but it's, I guess, in the beta phase, so they're not releasing it just yet. And there's no price point or anything like that. And they kind of show here what you do with it. You can, I guess, they give you like a for your cell phone, like little eyepieces, and you can see about what you can get with it with 180 degrees. So let's see here. So you look at it and you can kind of go back and forth, left and right. And what else does it say? Well, there's a lot of stuff here, but it's all brand new technology, and I don't know. What do you guys think about it? I think it's pretty awesome. So let me get the camera on. There we go. So the Insanium is saying, can you control it from the desktop? And that's a good question. Like I say, I think that Dragonframe and Stop Motion Pro or any of the other programs out there that you guys like to use would have to implement it, and they'd have to work with the company in order to do that. So, it's just such a brand new technology that I think that it's going to have to catch on, and people are going to have to buy it, and there's going to have to be some buzz about it and all that good stuff before anybody will take it seriously. I don't know if you guys have ever tried virtual reality or anything, but it seems really cool. I mean, I think Phil Tippett is also working in virtual reality to some extent. They're also doing that sort of, I don't know what it's called. Is it augmented reality, where they've got that video game, remember, that we showed a few months back? Actually, it's probably been more than a few months. It's been like a year. But they got like a card game that they worked on. And the card game, you use your cell phone, and the cell phone can see with its camera turned on. And oops, let's see here if I can get this lined up. Where is everything? There we go. So the cell phone and everything can see what's on your table, and you put your card on the table, and it will make a three-dimensional character come to life on top of your card. Kind of cool. I mean, I don't play card games like that. I guess it's like Magic the Gathering, and I know there's like Pokemon and all that as well. And I think Pokemon also did that, didn't they? They have like that Pokemon Go game where you use your cell phone to track down characters when you walk around. And I remember when that first came out, my son was like, "Whoa, this is really cool! Let's do it!" And so we took my wife's cell phone to the park, and I mean it's kind of funny. Like there would be people gathered, and everybody was out. Like the whole, all of where I live in Springfield, everybody was out, and they were looking at these Pokemon Go or Pokemon characters on their cell phones, and it was kind of cool. And then it died. Nobody used it after a month or so. It sort of just faded away. But for stop motion purposes, when you build a set and you're looking at it with your eyes, and if you can capture, if you're making something with your eyes and you want people to see it the same way that you see it, you kind of have to do it in 3D. And I think it would also, you get more immersion. You sort of suspend your reality and kind of go into the mind of the filmmaker a lot more easily if it's three-dimensional. But anyway, it's all new, and maybe it's just a fad like Pokemon Go, or I don't know. But a lot of people are making video games and applications and all kinds of stuff for virtual reality, and I think it's gonna definitely make stop motion more exciting for people. Oh, did it crash the game? Is it like um, was there a problem with it or something? I mean, I haven't really followed it. Yeah, Mike is saying it's like the fidget spinners. That's true. It is definitely like the fidget spinners, and you notice that like every single store has was selling fidget spinners, and I guess a lot of them still are, but um, yeah, it's just a fad. But virtual reality, I think anybody that I've heard that's used it has told me, or um, some of my friends on Facebook have used it and said that it's an amazing experience. So let's see. So, anyways, I should probably explain what I'm doing here. So we've got our pile of replacement parts for different characters here. We've got our little kid who is going to be replicated 3 times. He's going to have 2 brothers that are the same, but they all have different hairstyles. So these little replacement faces are all pointed to the left. And the mother character is they're all facing straight on. So what I need to do is I need to create a right facing little kid character, and I need to make a left and right for the mother character. So because she's going to be used the most, I'm going to be animating her. She's the main character. So she's going to, let's see, well, she has to walk out of a door. Let me think here. So the opening scenes where she's facing, I think, straight and to the left, and then when she goes out the door, she goes to the right. So it's going to be kind of hard for me to just have, like if I just do all left facing replacement faces. I mean, technically I could do that and then just use a computer and reverse it, but I don't really want to do that. I don't want to edit it together and do it that way. So anyway, I've got 3 heads that I've cast of the mother, 3 of the kid, and 3 of his bodies. So the body is the way I design it is pretty simple. It's basically no matter what direction the little kid is in. If he's facing left, he has his little onesie or whatever you want to call it facing to the left. And then for when he's facing to the right, he's going to have it to the right. And then when he's facing straight forward, you won't see any tail on him at all. So it's going to be kind of, pretty straightforward. And then once I do that, next week what I need to do is I need to make another mold of all the heads that I sculpt tonight. And that way I can cast multiples like I did for the mother, and then when I cast the multiples, I can, sculpt all the expressions and all of that into there. So a lot of work, but once all this stuff is out of the way, we can get into animation, which will be a while because we've got how many more characters to make? Quite a few. So, all right. So where should I begin? I guess maybe I'll start on the mother's head, and so she's going to look to the left. I want her eyes to be visible still, and as in both eyes, and they need to follow on this plane, which would be 2 lines. Let's see. Adjust my lining so maybe you guys can see better. But her eyes had to follow along a certain path on the face. And I'll draw lines on this one as well. So just drawing lines straight across. Now, I do have dividers. I'm going to use some dividers here. What I'll do is when I sculpt one in one direction, I'm going to measure how far I've moved the eyes with my little dividers and transfer those measurements to the other one. That way, it's going to be pretty much the same on both sides. So for this, I'm going to cut out an eyeball here, use that clay to fill in the hole next to it, which is the other eyeball. And then the question is how far to move the second eyeball. Think about that far. Kind of in the middle of the head, that might be kind of good. I think the center would be an ideal place. And that's not really center, so let me move it over. Just trying to think like when it's moving left and right, how that will look. So it won't be too much of a pop. So it's going to be strange at first until I move the rest of the face. But the eyes are the most important part of your character. You don't want to mess that up. So all the expression comes from there. Mike was asking if Don Carlson was here. He was. He might still be around. He might, be getting some food or something. The mold is made out of silicone, and I am using, what is it? Rebound 25, I think. Let me go check. Yeah, it's Rebound 25, and it's from Smooth On. Let's see here. It's pretty easy to use. Now, it's technically considered a brush on. Oops. Oh. Lost my tool. It's a brush on silicone, but, and that's true. It's not super liquidy, but it will run away from you. It's like, how thick is it? It's kind of like slightly thicker than honey, maybe. And it's not like water or something. It's just So I'm going to cut the other eyeball on this other head. So you can pour it like this one here. I made the walls around it and poured the silicone in there, and it's just fine. Yeah. All right, so I want to match the other distance with the eye over there. So let's see how far that is. It's not very far. Let's see. Somewhere about like this. Huh. Is that right? Doesn't seem right. I suppose it is. Let me look again. Distance is that far. I think it's because this eyeball, I need to make it bigger. Cool. So you got an LED version, Don? That's interesting. Yeah, Don is always trying to improve Puppet Putty, so that's pretty awesome. I think Don is the only person that's really trying to make anything like that, specifically for animators, probably in the world. I mean, I don't know anybody else that's specifically making any kind of clay for just for stop motion. Okay, so it's gonna take some playing with here. Seeing the mouth on there with the eyeballs looks really bizarre. So I gotta move the mouth over a bit, and when I cast these in the silicone, the mold was kind of cold, so it's set up funny, and there's all these bubbles and everything. So I need to repair these as well. So I'm just gonna go around the edge and just make it clean. So, yep. Let me ask you, Don. What method are you using to smooth your puppet putty? Like, what chemicals, or is there anything that you do specifically, or do you just smooth it because it smooths? It smooths really easily without anything. But is there anything else that you're trying to, experiment with, or anything that you might use? Alright, so the edges here are pretty much cleaned up. Any little craters and bumps and air bubbles that were in there when I cast these. Let's see about this one. This one is this one's not too bad. The silicone will get right around these edges, and when you cast it, which won't be very nice, because it kind of leaves all these like little, I don't know what you call that, flashing or whatever around the edges. So I'm going to try to clean this up to avoid that, but I probably can't. I mean, silicone gets into every little crack. Oh, okay. So, Don says no chemicals, just polished wooden tools. Cool. You know, I haven't used wooden tools. I've owned some, but I haven't used them in forever. I used to have one tool. I still have it, but it's like a spoon, like a spoon-shaped tool, kind of like this, but instead of getting narrower, it kind of goes straight and then kind of curves into a little handle. And I used to use that for every single character I made for years. And I only switched to this because, well, it's I don't really know why. Like what made me transition to this particular tool, but um, oh, I think I remember. I think it was when I saw some Stan Winston pictures. What was that film where they have all the mutated like half man, half werewolf, or half wolf, half pig characters? The Island of Dr. Moreau. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Stan Winston worked on it. It's a live action film, and lots and lots of cool effects in there, and lots of makeup effects. And you've got they used to release like promotional magazines for films back then, which I guess they still kind of do. But they released this one magazine that had pictures of the sculptors working on these characters, and one of them had a tool like this. And I think that was the reason why I ended up getting this, if I recall. Some of the most awesome sculpting you've ever seen. Those guys at Stan Winston are... I mean, I think Stan Winston is pretty much going to... I don't want to say like it's going to die or something like that, but I think that effects industry is hurting pretty bad right now in terms of practical effects. And I know Don Carlson made a joke about how, or maybe not a joke, but anybody that gets into a business and when they start to get into teaching their business as opposed to doing it, you know, they're in trouble. Everything's going computers these days, so what are you doing? My cat is really playful, so he's knocking stuff over. Zach, what are you doing there? Huh? What are you doing? So, Marlon Brando. Yep, that's right. Yeah, the Island of Dr. Moreau. Yeah, it's right, Ron. It's a dental tool. It's a 007 wax spatula. So I guess they use these in making things like dentures and molding people's teeth and all that kind of stuff. So Don says you can try a stiff Taklon brush, synthetic material, a form of plastic with short bristles to physically push out cracks and marks. Oh. So you find that works pretty good. That's good. I'm going to be making most of the apples in this film with the red puppet putty that I have. So I haven't gotten to that stage yet, but I plan to use puppet putty because it's perfect for the translucency on it is going to be, I think, really a nice look. Let's see here. Move all this stuff. But yeah, I think the old formula that you sent me, some of your first puppet putty packs, when I bought some of the red, I bought it just for this, you know, for this particular project. So I've got it in my giant clay container, just waiting to be used. Let's see. I think Don said you can use a microwave with Puppet Putty, if I recall. Let's see here. So I've got one sculpture I just smoothed out. It's a full-sized Linda Carter head for somebody, and I've got to mold it soon. But I use this brush to smooth out most of the clay, and this particular brush here does have the plastic bristles, and it's just mangled. There's no really, working with this brush anymore. I could try to clean it, but I've cleaned it so many times, and I've used like a knife to like scrape out the clay in it, and the bristles have just sort of bent over, and it's not straight anymore. And some of the bristles I've cut off with a knife and everything, but I need to get some more of those, especially for this project. It's going to be hard to smooth a lot of this without a nice brush. So with these two faces here, I need to think about what these are going to look like, because here's her straight on face, and she's got little cheeks on both sides, so I have to consider that in here. And I think that just going to kind of carve in where I think her cheeks will be, and then I'm probably going to have to add some clay to either side. And maybe remove some over here. And do the same on both at the same time so that each face is kind of similar. Scrape away some. Add some. So Mike is saying that on Friday he might buy some clay or tools. That's cool. So if you're going to buy some, you might want to consider what would work best for what you want to do. So if you're going to make puppets, you have to consider, really large tools are not always helpful to buy for small detailed sculptures. And I don't have my clay toolbox here to show you, but you might want to find tools that are, like the dental tools. These are really helpful, like this one. So this one I can sort of like get wrinkles and stuff, and you can see most of the tools I use are really small. Obviously the wax spatula is pretty small, and some of them are customized. But like what Don Carlson was saying, these types of small brushes are great. You can get in there and smooth with them. And you'll once you start to get into it, you'll kind of get a feel for what you want. But I would definitely stick with some smaller tools. I guess I really don't have any larger tools here at all, do I? I might have had at least one. Oh well. But this is really my main tool here. If you can get one of these in wood, something with a similar spoon shape, you'll probably find that you'll like that one the most. Alright, so the cheeks, I'm going to add just little pieces of clay. About the same size on both sides of her face. And I'm going to go in here and smooth each one. Or work it in, blend it in, and see what it looks like. That's pretty good. Do the same with this one. So Ramon's joking about leaving your puppet putty in the microwave for over 20 seconds. Yeah, I don't use microwaves to melt clay. I never have. Anytime that I've heard of people that do it, it seems harder to do than just with a double boiler. And I don't really trust, using plastic containers with melted clay. When I worked at Gentleman Films, I know that I've told this, but some of the silicone spatulas that we mixed the clay with, to mix the melted clay with, it would like melt the spatula or dissolve it into the clay. It was the weirdest thing. So Lego Nerd says, do you know where to buy a good scalpel? Well, X-Acto knives are really good, and I just bought this in a hobby shop. And the blades that they come with are super sharp. It's not surgical sharp. Like we used to get surgical blades at a place called Rio Grande. It was when I used to work in a jewelry store, they had a catalog that they sold like the sharpest possible scalpels you could get, and the reason why is a lot of the artists would make molds kind of like this, but if you can imagine, the mold would be about that size or so, and there would be a ring inside or a pendant like this, and it would be inside of the mold. And the way that you make the mold was you would take layers of rubber, vulcanizing rubber, and you'd sandwich the parts in there, and then you'd compress it in a machine, and the two halves of the machine would heat up and melt the rubber, and you would slowly squeeze out the air bubbles. It's a really bizarre technique compared to just silicone like this, but the scalpels had to be really sharp to get a nice cut through the mold, because it would be one piece and you have to literally cut it open with a jeweler's cut. So you get in there and you go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and you'd pry it open a little bit like this, and then you cut again, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and that left, right pattern would be the key that holds the two halves back together. So we used to buy them, and my boss, because they were so sharp, surgically sharp, which is as sharp as you can possibly get it. He used to cut his fingers all the time. You'd see him, he'd go into work, and he would have taken crazy glue and crazy glued his fingers back together. So you don't really want to have it that sharp. Like, I know that a lot of people think that sharp is good, but sometimes it's just overkill. I mean, you can do most anything with an X-Acto knife. I mean, you'll get a nice clean cut with it. If you're cutting really anything, balsa wood, plastic like styrene, you can use it for that. It works good. I would just go with X-Acto blades. like Hobby Lobby's, you can go there. I think, they're kind of a crazy company, but Hobby Lobby's good. And then Michael's Craft Store. I think even like Walmart has, if you go to the bigger Walmarts, they have a craft section where they sell, I don't know if it's in the craft section or the office supply section, but you can get, I think you can get the same exact X-Acto knives like this. I don't know if you've ever seen how they work, but the end just unscrews. So you unscrew it, and that releases the pressure on this little end piece. So the little, it spreads apart. You just put your blade in there, and when you tighten it, these two halves squeeze down together and hold your blade in, pretty tight. So, yeah, they're not hard to find usually. And it does cut clay. So Donna's saying, I think of this stuff more like a dusty candle that you can shape. While it's a little safer in its ingredients than clay used to be made from, it still obeys the laws of thermodynamics. So, okay, so in terms of puppet putty, yeah, it's not the same as regular clay. It has a totally different feel to it. We used to get these little, when I was a kid, I'm sure they still have these. They're wax straws where they take sugar and they fill up the wax straw with like powdered sugar, and it's flavored and colored. And the wax that they made those straws out of reminds me a lot of puppet putty, even though it's not really the same, but it's a very waxy kind of material. More waxy than this for sure, Van Aken. Alright, so I got this done, and I think what I'm going to do now is smooth this. So since we're on the topic of smoothing, I'm just going to take my little container, which is a Easter egg, half of one. Put some alcohol. Dip my finger in there and just go over the whole thing and smooth it out. And there's some like black paint that I used in here last time, and that's okay because I'm going to mold this and cast it, cast nice clean pieces with fresh clay, so I'm not really too worried about much of the problems that dirt is going to cause. That is kind of a big hair, so I want to get rid of that. There's always cat hairs on my desk. Oh. So just kind of taking my thumb, going over it, and I don't want to have any like harsh lines on here or anything like that, so I'm going to kind of take my tool, clean that stuff up a bit. Kind of like that. And for the eyeballs, I have another tool. Where is it? There it is. This little ball tool, which I can get in here and smooth all that out. Make the eyes look nice. And a little bit more crisp. When I cast these, I'm going to use my paint to paint them. And a crisp edge will just make it easier for the paint to get in there. So it's going to be well defined. Alright, so I might try this brush just to see what happens here. It's kind of off to the side. I'm just kind of taking it and cleaning it off on some clean paper. I put some fresh paper under all this earlier because my last piece was getting kind of messed up. So let's try it, even though this brush is really horrible. So I'm going to get in here and just, with the alcohol, go over all these little lines and things. And it's not working too bad. But like I said, you really want to have a nice, clean brush with straight bristles for this. That looks pretty good. Huh. So fumed silica, that's interesting. That must be hard to find, I would think. Like, I wouldn't think Amazon.com or someplace would carry that. Alright, so this really needs to be as nice as I can get it. I'd say that's pretty good, but you know, I'm such a perfectionist. Like, in my mind, I want to make it perfect. But I know that trying to go for perfection just takes too long. It's not good for time considerations. But we'll just do that. So you can kind of see what this looks like. Let's see here if I can. So now for the other side. So again, just dipping my finger in alcohol and rubbing around. The other day I almost bought some more rubbing alcohol, and this that I have here is 70%, and it goes up to, I think, like 90%. And I thought the stuff that I saw on the shelf would be 90%, and I looked at it and it was something like 50%. It was really watered down, which I didn't know that they watered it down that much. I mean, at what percent do you water it down before it's called water, you know? I mean, 50% is not very good. Let's see here. So and I should probably explain, when you have a high water content in the alcohol, it tends to leave like little spots on your sculpture. And the melting process is slower the more diluted your alcohol is, and you want it to be kind of like a sponge, or you want it to melt really fast because it evaporates really quick. So you want it to actually do the job before it evaporates. So I'm going to clean up these eyes a bit again and make sure they're well defined. Not like that. And use my brush again and clean up the mouth. Yeah, 99% probably. And yes, it is flammable. We used to use it for an alcohol lamp when we worked at, or when I worked at the jewelry store. We used to need to have a flame to heat up our tools. We used tools just like these, and you'd heat up the tool, and then you could work with wax, and then you could also smooth wax with an alcohol lamp. And we would take the alcohol lamp and you squeeze the bottle just a little bit, and there's a little brass piece that bends right where the flame is, and when you squeeze it, the air inside the bottle would flow over the flame and then heat up your part that you blew the air onto. And if you did it just right, you can control that airflow and the heat and smooth things like wax pendants and rings and well, anything made from wax. But I was good at carving stuff, but never really good with. I'm not good with like castelline, which is a waxy sort of clay material. It's very hard. So it's almost as hard as like maybe a bar of soap, or I'm trying to think what you can compare it to. Almost like a crayon, but not that hard. It's a little bit softer. Never good at it. So, and I've learned that people don't usually work with that kind of stuff. To sculpt, they usually sculpt in something soft and make a mold and then cast it in that material and then detail it. So, but for me, it's just too much work. Way too much work. Like if I made each one of these out of castelline, it would take me forever. They're better for like toy, like that kind of material is good for toys. So you'll see a lot of toy companies that use that. And there's also like Ralph Corodero's. He's got like his own little wax formula. And then there's Adam Bean. I think Adam Bean became sick or something. So, but he was working on a CS4, I think it's called. Is it CS4? It's like a gray waxy material. And you can actually, they even had a version, which I don't know if they produced it or not, but where you could 3D print in wax, which is really cool. Oh yeah, that's right, Don. Yeah, it seems like my Craft Smart clay did become hard for some reason over time. It's like it dried out. It's horrible. But the cool part is castelline doesn't really crumble like that so much. Yeah, I think Adam Bean is sick. I think he's been ill. Which is sad. I mean, you might want to check up on him, like on his Facebook or something, see if he's been posting stuff. But I was kind of wondering, like, why hasn't he released all his stuff? And I forget where I saw that he was not, you know, he has problems. I don't want to, say because I don't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, I hope it's not from. Yeah, that's the thing about stuff like this is it's better to work with non-toxic materials. Sometimes I have to work with toxic stuff, and I wear like gloves. I wear a respirator. I have a fan that blows the fumes away. You just gotta be careful. And I have not tried sculpting in cold porcelain. Have not tried it. Is there like a certain product that you're like referring to, or? think I'll put a little mouth on these here. Let's see. How does that look with the mouth? Huh. So I think the center of the mouth would be here. So about like that. I'll do the same on this one. Yeah, Adam Bean is a great artist. Okay, so I got some really small mouths in here just to define where they're gonna go. So obviously we're gonna have lips on there. So it just needs to be like a placeholder, and then the two sides of the mouth will have like little divots in there. I could probably add those. Okay, that's pretty good. And then this one as well, just kind of add those little divots in the sides so it reads better. You know, when I film this, I want to make sure that nothing is too shallow, because the camera has to read it. And all right, so I think there's some slight differences between these two, but I'm okay with that. Like I said, I don't want it to be, you know, perfectly symmetrical, but pretty close. And I think the eye distances, so when she's animated, when she looks left and then looks straight, having the eyes, you know, lined up in the center like this, I think that's pretty good. I don't know if that's going to work very well if she looks from left to right, but I'll probably put her middle face in there like this, you know, so when she's looking left and then looks right, I'll have this in between like that. I think that will look okay animated. It's really simple. This would be like considered limited cell animation for 2D animation. So, you know, it's the least amount of replacements needed for the animation. Yeah, I hope Adam will be okay. Yeah, some people like it. Some people are really great with those kind of clays or waxes, I guess. And Don says that Bean was the first to create a thermoplastic 3D printing material that can be sculpted after it's printed. He posted a video last winter of someone tying a knot with his 3D printed clay. It did not break. That's cool. That's actually amazing. Yeah, it would be 3D printable, the first of its kind, and that's why, you know, I've been watching it and has not been produced. Oh yeah, is it heart issues, Don? Yeah, that's too bad. But who knows? Maybe he'll be okay. You know, modern technology. You never know. So let's see, what time is it? Almost 9 o'clock. So I've got these done. I guess what we'll do is next week we'll work on these three little kids, and we'll do the same thing with their. I might just have like a left and right version though. I don't think I need to have them looking straight because their features are so small. I don't think that I can animate these in any kind of way that would look, you know, nice. because I'd have to have a really precise replacement face in there to make that work. And I'm not that good of a sculptor, so I might just have like a left, right, and then a straight head body. I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so anyways, that does conclude our show for tonight. And let me see if I can get Alexa to work for me or not. Let me see. All right. Alexa, ask Good Vibe about end show.
Thanks everyone for stopping by. This concludes our live show. We broadcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. If you liked this week's broadcast, give us a like, or subscribe to our channel for updates. Don't forget that every 5 weeks we have our popular stop-motion challenges, so don't delay. You can learn more at animateclay.com. See you next time, and happy animating!